I took a solo cruise on board the Carnival Panorama out of Long Beach, California for what would be a 7-day journey to the Mexican Riviera. But is the Carnival Panorama, a ship that debuted in 2019, the Carnival ship you should choose for a cruise vacation of such length? Plus, stick around and hear how much this cruise ended up costing me in the end. Because in this video, I'll give you a detailed look at the Carnival Panorama cruise ship, from my stateroom accommodations to the entertainment involved, all of the activities, the common spaces, the relaxation opportunities, and all of the things to eat and do on board what was, for a brief time, Carnival's flagship vessel. With Carnival's Southern California hub in my backyard, I arrived at the Long Beach Cruise Terminal for my pre-booked check-in time of 11 a.m. The terminal itself, right alongside the iconic Queen Mary cruise ship, serves as the entry and exit point for Carnival ships like the Miracle, the Radiance, and now, of course, the Italian-themed Firenze. Parking is just steps away from the terminal, with porter service on the bottom level. Parking in this garage as of this video, $23 per day. Inside the giant dome terminal, I was processed through check-in pretty quickly, taking less than about 10 minutes, where they took a look at my boarding pass, my ID, and my birth certificate, and I was moved along to the massive waiting area that really just ends up swelling until they're ready to board us. And around 11:35 a.m., the boarding process had begun, and I made the walk up to the top of the dome with hundreds of other excited passengers, where an opportunity presented itself for the first of many backdrop photos you could take and later purchase on board if you were interested. Crossing the gangway to the ship, I was wowed by the size of the Panorama. She is the largest of the Vista-class vessels, and it shows, with a capacity of 4,008 passengers. Crossing the threshold and walking into the 3-story atrium, I was really taken aback by the floor-to-ceiling LED displays and the various LED panels up in the ceiling that often reflect the vibe or the theme of the day. For example, on the morning Carnival held the upcharge Dr. Seuss character breakfast, this atrium absolutely reflected just that, as a way to help celebrate the fun. It's a really cool feature, and everything still feels new and modern in this space. After checking the Carnival Hub app for my muster station, I swung by the area to check in for my safety briefing, and after they scanned my boarding pass, was on my way to find lunch. As an experienced solo cruiser, I know to never go to the buffet for embarkation day lunch, because that is where every passenger on the ship tends to go first. So, I went to the included and off the beaten path Guy's Pig and Anchor barbecue counter. Located on Deck 5, just outside of the upcharge Guy's Pig and Anchor brew house, this included counter dining option along the promenade comes from the culinary mind and talents of Guy Fieri, and is open only on embarkation and sea days, and presents all you care to enjoy meats and sides like old school potato salad, scratch-made slaw, collard greens, molasses baked beans, Mac Daddy mac and cheese, smoked pork butt, blue ribbon chicken, smoked beef, and smoked andouille sausage. Plus, you can add any of Guy's signature sauces to make that meat really hit. This included hearty option is finger lickin' good, and one of my absolute favorites whenever I can find it on a Carnival ship. And since we are on the topic of food, let's talk about what else is included for you to enjoy on the Carnival Panorama. Up on Lido Deck 10, you can find another Guy Fieri spot called Guy's Burger Joint. This is where you can enjoy fresh off the grill burgers with 5 unique options, and every burger is served up with a pile of French fries. Adjacent to the burger bar is a fantastic toppings bar with everything from traditional condiments to chili, sauteed mushrooms, and all of the sauces you could possibly ask for. Opposite of this location, on the other side of the Lido, sits the included Blue Iguana Cantina, where you can get custom crafted burritos and tacos loaded with your pick of chicken, pork, or battered fish. And this location also has an adjacent salsa bar to load your creation up with even more deliciousness. And don't sleep on this location when it comes to breakfast either. The Blue Iguana Cantina serves up arepes, breakfast burritos, and some of the most satisfying huevos rancheros I have ever had at sea or on land. It must be a stop for you when it comes to a quick breakfast. Just beyond this location on the same deck sits the Lido Marketplace Buffet, a bright and sprawling space with an included spread of salads, pasta, barbecue, Asian-inspired cuisine, and of course, all kinds of delectable desserts to choose from, including morning to night soft-serve ice cream and yogurt as part of swirls, which can be found here as well. In the morning, the Lido Marketplace dishes up a substantial breakfast buffet with omelets and pastries, an assortment of meats, and even eggs Benedict for you. The layout of this buffet is great as it has several 360 access islands that repeat from one side to another, allowing for crowds to spread out instead of really just lining up and creating gridlock like I see on so many other ships. The seating in this area is also well themed and cut up in a way to allow for little hideaway spaces for more intimate dining experiences, as well as wide open seating with large windows to the outside. Of course, on Carnival, you have included drink options like water, lemonade, iced tea, select juices in the morning. Got yourself some hot chocolate to choose from, coffee, and tea. Also inside the Lido Marketplace Buffet is the Carnival Deli, where you can enjoy old-time favorites like a hot pastrami on rye, your grilled Reubens are here, or roasted turkey breast on a country roll, just to name a few. And take a walk outside the back door of the Lido Marketplace on the aft end of the ship to find your included morning to late night pizza fix at Pizzeria del Capitano. That tosses up 5 different types of pies for you, and you can enjoy these slices here until 4 a.m. daily. Taking a trip downstairs, of course, you can't forget the included main dining rooms, the Vista Restaurant on Deck 3, and the Horizon Restaurant on Deck 4 serve you breakfast and dinner to your table. You have the option of booking a dining time in advance prior to your cruise online, or you can do Carnival's Your Time Dining, just like I did, where you simply check in on the app while on the ship that you would like to dine, and they'll go ahead and send you an alert when your table is ready. Even during prime dinner hours, I never waited longer than 10 minutes for a table. These restaurants are where you can find a sizable menu with rotating specialties daily and signature favorites like the famous Carnival chocolate melting cake that, if you haven't had it, is an absolute must. Plus, something you shouldn't miss is the included Sea Day brunch. Inside these restaurants, you can indulge in something like a steak and eggs like I did, with some fresh fruit and hash browns, as well as a fantastic fruit and nut parfait that I happen to order whenever I am on a Carnival ship during Sea Day brunch. If you don't feel like hoofing it down to a dining spot for breakfast, well, you don't have to. Order up the included breakfast room service option. While Carnival ships have gone the route of normal charges a la carte for room service now, the one thing that is still offered as complimentary is breakfast room service. So call them up to get your OJ, your fresh hot coffee, your muffins, croissants, and pastries hand-delivered with a smile to your room without a fee to help start your day just right. Now let's turn our attention to dining options on board that are an additional fee to enjoy. As mentioned earlier, Guy's Pig and Anchor Brew House on Deck 5 is a spot where you can order from choices like brisket, sausage, baby back ribs, salmon, and dry rubbed chicken, complete with classic sides. Those sides, by the way, will run you as low as $2, and then the shareable platters of meat clock in around $16 a piece. Right around the corner, you can get your caffeine fix and even spiked caffeine fix, along with milkshakes and other over-the-top treats for a nominal fee at Java Blue Cafe and Shake Spot. Down the hall, Bonsai Sushi offers an upcharge Sea Day lunch and daily dinner option where you can order some of your favorite sushi rolls and bento boxes for very reasonable prices. Next door sits Bonsai Teppanyaki, where you can partake in a dining show as chefs bring fire plateside for $45 during sea day lunch or $49 for a daily dinner. Across from these locations sits the popular Fahrenheit 555 Steakhouse, where for a fee of $49 per person, you can delight in starters like escargot and lobster bisque, and entrees like filet mignon and grilled lamb chops with any sides you'd like. Back upstairs on Deck 10 Lido, opposite of the included pizzeria, on the aft end of the ship sits the a la carte seafood shack, where during lunch and dinner you can get your lobster rolls and seafood buckets. Up one more deck on 11, you can choose from two specialty themed restaurants for dinner: Gigi's Asian Kitchen, and directly across from it is Cucina del Capitano. For $24 at Gigi Asian Kitchen, you can select from things like Nanjing style duck and pork belly for appetizers, as well as peppered beef or sweet and sour shrimp for entrees, accompanied by noodles, rice, and veggies. I was really impressed by the dessert I selected, the rose creme brulee with ginger ice cream. What an exceptional balance of sweet and savory. It's something I will definitely be back for. To enjoy Gigi's Asian Kitchen without a cost, stop by for lunch on most days, where they serve up a very popular wok bowl. That's right, it's free, but you gotta show up early. Over at Cucina del Capitano, this specialty restaurant honors the Italian heritage of Carnival's many ship captains, as nearly all of them come from Italian roots. In this warm environment, you can enjoy appetizers like Caesar salads, calamari fritas, or Nona's meatball, a handmade olive oil encrusted sautéed garlic and onion masterpiece baked with fresh mozzarella served over the captain's secret tomato sauce. Sides like spaghetti, fingerling potatoes, or roasted broccoli and cauliflower are up for grabs. And when it comes to the entrees here, you have choices of things like risotto Milanese, pollo della cucina, or pappardelle filled with grilled shrimp, pomodorini sauce, and a blend of parmesan and pesto. Desserts show out here as well. I went with the crostata de mele con crema, a buttery pie crust with Chardonnay stewed apples, served with crunchy almond and caramel ice cream. If you would like to try some of the pasta without the cost at Cucina del Capitano, head up to this location on sea days, where they have a create your own pasta option that is not to be missed. But back to embarkation day. Shortly after my lunch at Pig and Anchor Barbecue, cruise director Marty announced that our rooms were now ready. I headed back down to Deck 1 to check out my stateroom 1407, where I got to check out my interior cabin for the first time. You'll notice the stateroom sits sideways instead of front to back. There are only a few of these on each deck, and I quite like the shape for an interior space, and it was a very quiet location overall. A peek inside the bathroom shows you a shower curtain, pull curtain, very flimsy, pump shampoo and body wash, a wonderful detachable shower head, and a lot of counter space with racks going up either side of the large mirror for storage right where the sink is. Speaking of storage, right outside the bathroom are multiple floor-to-ceiling cabinets with tons of space for hanging clothes, drawers for storing clothes. A safe is included in these spaces as well, and of course, life jackets are located inside this closet. A pool towel on loan is in every room alongside a desk with several power outlets, and USB ports are located just beneath a lit mirror. A phone also sits on the desk alongside a QR code that is your key to things like your room service menu, for example, if you'd like to take a look at that. In the drawer of this desk is a blow dryer, and the bed sits between two small nightstands that have tiny storage areas. Something worth noting is that only USB ports are on the desk, but not around the bed or anywhere else in the room. And on the far end of the room is another counter with a mini fridge underneath for the storing of your drinks, and three smaller shelves next to that. On the countertop are 2 glasses for use, 2 water bottles for purchase, and then a pack of water bottles I ordered from Carnival online ahead of time that were in my room when I arrived. The flat panel TV is just above this space with a handful of free channels and movies with some pay-per-view options too. All in all, this room was just fine for me as a solo since I'm always out and about anyway, and choose to spend the money I would save on this room for other extras on the ship. One such extra during my voyage was the outstanding thermal suite pass at Cloud9 Spa. Up on Deck 12, I would visit the thermal suite daily, which came with access to thermal loungers that just really had such a spectacular view where you could melt into these chairs just like I did and enjoy the tranquil spa music overhead. Sitting in between the thermal loungers is a thalassotherapy pool that has the same epic view as the loungers do. And around the perimeter of the suite sat a hammam steam room for exfoliation, a beautiful aroma steam room, which happened to be also wall to wall with an infrared sauna, and directly across from that sat a dry heat sauna as well. At the back of the suite were Cloud9's signature showers with multiple nozzle and mist functions that are just a bit heavenly if you can get the right functions operating. For 7 days of access, the Thermal Suite Pass was $129, which I felt was well worth the price for a daily retreat, which is limited to a select number of passengers only. If you're not looking to spend that kind of money, but are still looking to relax, head upstairs to the included Deck 15 Adults Only Serenity Deck, where a bar and servers are available with an included Fresh Creations salad bar around the corner at lunch, as are extra cushioned loungers, daybeds, and clamshells, all tucked around the front of the ship with panoramic views of the ocean. This area also provides 2 hot tubs on either side of the ship, nestled right up to the edge. The Serenity Deck is where you could find me multiple times during my cruise, especially during sunset time. It was a captivating view, to say the least, and one of my most cherished memories. For those looking to cool down, Carnival Waterworks on Deck 12 is your spot for spiraling water slides. You can also check out an expanded splash zone right down here, along with all kinds of water toys, water dump buckets, and so much more. Down on Lido Deck 10, there are 2 pools to refresh in. The first is the beach pool at the center of the Lido Deck, and just beneath the mega screen that Carnival Panorama runs nightly movies under the stars on, with 2 spaces on either side of the pool to get your feet wet if you just want to sit and enjoy instead of diving in. And on the aft end of this deck, a much more quiet tides pool wedged in between 2 hot tubs that all have a really great view of the wake behind the ship. Since there are 3 levels that span the outside decks between midship and aft, it really helps to distribute the crowds well during something like Sail Away. Again, with 4,000 plus people on board and everyone wanting to be a part of a sail away, it allowed for us all to come together without it feeling overwhelming, as it has for me on smaller Carnival ships for sure. Interested in grabbing a drink? Well, the Panorama, they've got you covered there too, with bars seemingly at every turn, both outside and inside. It feels like you will only ever be within just a few yards of your next adult beverage. There were 2 bars that stood out to me as immensely popular, though. One happens to be the Alchemy Bar, down on Deck 5 mid, where the bartenders wear white lab coats and concoct very creative libations for your enjoyment, and we'll just say your healing as well. And the other, on Deck 5 aft, sits in a beautifully themed lounge called the Havana Bar, which becomes quite the venue in the evening hours as it doubles as a performance venue and is part of the greater Havana Staterooms section, where for a higher price, those passengers not only get their own exclusive side of this bar, they also get an exclusive aft sun deck, complete with a small pool and hot tubs that is restricted access for their enjoyment. I also like to give an honorable mention to the Heroes Tribute Bar located down on Deck 4, where a portion of the proceeds made in this bar, Carnival donates to the charity Operation Homefront. So if you are looking for a pint, try to make at least one you enjoy in this space. When it comes to entertainment, the Carnival Panorama has plenty of it. Right in front of the Havana Bar, here on Deck 5, sits the Ocean Plaza, a performance venue with activities during the day like trivia, towel sculpting classes, and crafts, as well as live music at night that really keeps things rocking, with a bar that sits just adjacent to this space to keep the party going. Something worth mentioning is just outside of this venue sits the promenade deck and a really quiet outdoor space to just take in the ocean and get away from the crowds. One of my favorite spots for sure. Another performance venue that happens to be more low-key, if that's kind of your vibe, is Piano Bar 88 on Deck 5, which features a nightly tickling of the ivories for your enjoyment. A great place where the piano player takes all your requests. Of course, the atrium stage is always a hot spot of entertainment. From DJs to 3-string bands and duo singers, it really is a rotating roster of options both day and night. At the front of the ship is the Liquid Lounge on both decks 4 and 5 and serves as the main theater on board, complete with full-scale musicals, cabaret, and production shows. That's all happening at night, but they also have some daytime programming, like the popular Deal or No Deal game show or the Family Feud. I never had an issue getting a seat in this venue, and the shows were always a ton of fun. Just make sure you show up about 20 minutes ahead of time in order to get the seat that you want. If comedy is more your speed, then head to the back of the ship here on Deck 4 and drop into the Limelight Lounge, home to Carnival's signature Punchliner Comedy Club, where every night you can take in a PG or an explicit comedy act, as well as C-Day matinees. I hung out here nightly for some damn good belly laughs. I encourage you to do the same. This is also the space that transforms into a nightclub for late-night ragers too. For the gamblers watching, you have a large venue called Panorama Casino on Deck 4 between the theater and the comedy lounge. Video slots, card games, and beyond can all be found in this location, and when it's open at sea, it is always hopping busy. And don't forget, almost nightly, there are themed deck parties up on Lido Deck 10 that get everyone in on the fun. The 80s rock and glow party being perhaps my personal favorites. What I really like about Carnival is just how casual the experience is, but it still offers opportunities to also dress up on select nights if you so choose. All something you can find in your Hub app once on board. If you have a shopping habit, you are in luck. The Carnival Panorama has 2 floors full of options for you on Deck 4 and 5. Your traditional Carnival fun shops can be found here with your branded Carnival gear. Also, don't forget plenty of sundries to partake in these shops. A wide selection of jewelry and sparkly wear options for your consideration exist here. High-end accessories too, as well as beauty and fragrance selections. And if you have a sweet tooth, the Cherry on Top candy store for all your snacking needs. I mentioned earlier, one of the things I really enjoyed about this ship is that there are so many things to do activity-wise on board. Here on Deck 4 is the Carnival Kitchen, a show kitchen where, for a fee, you can take a cooking or baking class under the teaching hand of a Carnival chef. These classes were so popular, they were all sold out before I had a chance to book one, so book early if you are interested. Moving up to Deck 5 is a really nice quiet spot called the Library, where you can come to devour a brand new book, or if you have a group with you, reach for one of the many complimentary board games they have on the shelves and start a round of Monopoly or Connect 4. Head up to Deck 6 for some gaming at the Warehouse Arcade with all sorts of fun options for the kids, or, if you're a kid at heart, you can do this too. Just above this location on Deck 7 and 8 is the Indoor Sky Zone Trampoline Park, where you can go jump for an extra fee per hour. Taking things to deck 12, there is a sizable jogging track for your running or walking pleasure that acts as a bit of a border around what Carnival calls the Sports Square, a place where you can play mini golf to your heart's content. You can play pool up here as well, maybe a little ping pong, or even human chess is an option, or you can head inside to the clubhouse where you can play other oversized games in an air-conditioned or heated environment depending on the day. Alongside all of this sits the sports court, a spot for anyone looking to shoot some hoops or even play some soccer in full-scale netted atmosphere with views of the ocean off to either side. And on the aft end of Deck 12 are sets of outdoor exercise equipment for use by anyone who would like to hop on and give it a try. While at the front of the ship on this deck, just beyond the spa, happens to be dozens of cardio machines from treadmills to cycling that stretch from one side of the ship to the other with stunning forward views. Another floor up on Deck 14 are two attractions on board the Panorama. You can choose to try your courage negotiating the ropes course, a terrifying prospect if I do say so myself when you incorporate the gusting winds on sea days, or you can choose the Skyride pedal vehicle that will have you hanging from an overhead beam that has an extra long course that wraps all the way around the entire deck. You know, the Panorama still feels fresh and new, and while there is no heavy theming like many of the older Carnival ships or even the newer repurposed Italian ships, it still manages to really deliver on the promise of being the fun ship. The layout of this ship might be my favorite thing about it. You know, getting to and from most locations is fairly easy, and much of it feels open and wide, which allows for such a heavy capacity to be accommodated without feeling suffocating, as I have definitely experienced on smaller Carnival ships. The Panorama's floor plan is very similar to that of the newer Carnival Venezia, and the even newer than that Carnival Firenze, making it easy to navigate if you were used to those Vista-class ships, but totally different experiences due to the theming thrown into the Venezia and the Firenze, which, as previously mentioned, had been repurposed. They are the Italian ships from Carnival's sister brand, Costa Cruise Lines. While I added on a social level internet package for about $100 for the duration of the trip, this entire 7-day cruise in an interior cabin was an incredible $680. If I can ever get through paying for a cruise that is under $100 a day, I look at that as a tremendous win. This, of course, was excluding the specialty dining and thermal suite add-ons that I had shared with you earlier. But to answer the question I posed at the start, is this the right ship for a cruise of this length? I would say, hands down, yes. This 7-day trip took us to Puerto Vallarta, Cabo San Lucas, and Mazatlan, and it felt like there was always so much going on and so many places to go while on board that I was never bored myself and never left feeling like there wasn't a space I could escape to soak up some sun or take part in an activity or a show. Carnival's ships since have only grown bigger, and in some cases I have heard almost too big from critics, but the Panorama comes off as spacious yet still intimate, and that's what I appreciate the most. To learn what my entire experience was like on a smaller Carnival ship out of this same port, check out my Carnival Radiance trip report on the right, or my experience on the newer Carnival Venezia out of New York on the left.